that our video link is not working, at least for now. Jason is kindly making efforts to your video and recording us, right? Okay, wonderful. So, welcome to the first meeting of the Village of Friendship Heights Council in 2026. Before we get started for our business, I'd like to note that there are 3 council members who have had birthdays this month or tomorrow. That's Francine Klein, Alison Alt, and Roy Schaefer. So please join me in wishing them a happy birthday, and help yourself to a little bit of cake that's on the table over there to my left.
Council member is also January birthday.
We're forgetting about that. Yeah, okay. So we're convening our meeting at, it looks like 6:33 on Monday, January 12th. Council members, if you would please speak your name into the microphone to facilitate transcription and recognition by our vision impaired residents. I'll start. My name is Martha Solt, and I'm chairman.
Roy Schaefer, mayor.
Francine Klein, council member.
John Conlow, treasurer.
Alison Alt, parliamentarian.
Al Muller, historian.
And Vic Basil.
Yes, we've got 6 council members here and a 7th participating remotely. That's how you hear his wonderful voice there. And I was about to boast about how we got our sound system improved and working again, but you know, I guess if one thing gets better, something else gets worse. So I will skip those comments. There's two changes to the agenda. In new business, the discussion vote on proposals for repairing the fountain in Humphrey Park, that's being removed from this meeting. And we are adding the nomination of John Heisel to the Climate Change and Environment Committee. So as we usually do, we have our project manager here, and we allow him to go first to be efficient with time. And Jim Wilson is going to tell us about Page Park and the Red House and permits and what is being done and what is not being done and everything in between. So thank you, Jim.
Thank you, good evening. I'll start with Page Park, I'll start with Red House. The Red House construction began in roughly the second week of December, around about the 17th of December. The overall completion date is the April 3rd, 4th, say call it the first week of April, which we don't see any reason why we're not going to meet that date to finish all of the ADA work associated with turning it over to the tenant. We also, I do believe, can't say this for certain, but I believe we're going to be done, and our goal is really to do everything possible to be done before the tenant begins their renovations. So they finished framing out the new bathrooms, new handicap bathrooms. They're working on the demolition for the addition of the new stairs coming out the back, and everything seems to be going well. And communications are very good. The contractor is very prompt, very thorough in all of his communications. We have bi-weekly progress meetings, and we normally have them on Wednesdays, but we're going to have this one on this Friday. And the tenant is also going to be able to come and attend those, just so if there's anything that we're missing that they can do. So that's all I have on the Red House. I don't know if you want me to pause and see if anybody has questions.
So I trust if something is going awry, you will immediately notify.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't want to have delayed surprises, as you may imagine. Are there any, and I think I see one hand, Councilmember Muller?
Thank you, Jim. What's the latest estimate that the tenant has for his changes on the building?
His changes, his work, you mean just tell me his work. They have not given me their schedule, so they talked about it briefly, very loosely, and so hopefully Friday we'll get them to give us his, plans and how he wants to go as quickly as possible, but I don't know the status of his permits and, his designs. He has
Has
not
he
shared
given
that.
any estimates of when it will be done? The reason I ask is that the village has to, the program directors have to begin planning for such things as opening day. We still have to, the council still has to look at what was proposed so long ago that none of them, except myself, was here, and that's the historical marker. That really can't go up until all the construction is done, and design and all of that.
I would, he has not given me, his indications, but I would not expect to see that building occupied any earlier than the fall, late fall.
Really?
Yeah, when there's kitchen equipment and, mechanical work and stuff, those aren't snap your fingers kinds of things. So just generally, that would be my experience of kind of.
Well, thank you, because I was just presuming wrongly that it would be sometime in the summer.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love it, but I don't know that I see that that's gonna take place that quickly. So as soon as they let me know, and otherwise I will let you all know.
So do we, and if we don't, should we or can we have the DPS come in to take a look at the work as it's ongoing?
You talking about, the county?
Yes,
They have to inspect.
at the end.
They have to inspect before you can close up any wall, so
Oh,
they have,
okay.
so the county requirement, there was a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and the county. They have to inspect all the concrete, all the footings prior to being placed, they have to inspect all the wall, electrical, plumbing, rough-ins before you're allowed to hang the drywall.
And that I assume has been ongoing.
That is, there hasn't been any inspection, there hasn't been any work that is ready for those inspections
Okay.
yet. But, so they're doing the rough-ins now, and they're doing the digging now, so,
Okay,
okay?
so we're gonna avoid, obviously,
Yes,
what we've
yeah,
had.
we will not,
Okay.
yeah, that is,
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Jim, follow-up? You said footings? What footings do they examine? That house has been there with its footings since 1906.
the new entrance to the basement, the wall moves. As you go down, the opening door to the basement is wider. And so we have to dig a new stairwell that goes down, and that stairwell is a concrete wall, and that concrete wall has footings under it.
Well, I hope there won't be an unexpected problem with that, like with the pergola. I mean, the footings are gonna be determined by the same county that said we were 4 inches short.
Right, well, those drawings have been submitted, and those drawings have been approved, so I do understand everyone's angst over moving appropriately. But those were in the drawings, those are in the drawings, the inspections, the building permit has those, and,
That's why we hired Jim.
we will not have a do-over.
Yeah, okay, well,
So,
are we ready for the Page Park?
yes. So Page Park, we have resubmitted the civil engineers have resubmitted the concept stormwater management plan. And so the process, just to kind of remind everybody, is there's a concept plan that is submitted, and the concept plan gets reviewed and approved. And then after the concept plan is approved, you can submit your design plans, your engineered plans for review and approval and permits. So the concept plans have been resubmitted, and they had to be resubmitted if you may recall, because of the geotechnical requirements that happened in the process of the first submission. So those have gone in, and we're expecting, I was hoping that the plans that I was gonna see would have enough information that we could bid the job, which we do not in these plans, so it's probably another week and a half before we have enough information, according to the engineers, enough information to actually put an RFP out and get bids for the work. We still are gonna get the bids back and enough time for you all to approve and to select before we get our actual permits to do the work. So we're thinking that it's probably, again, I really hate to be so, jello-ish in my ability to nail the dates, but we are so much subject to the review time and the processes of the county. At this time, the engineers are thinking that we're gonna get our permits in April, and so as soon as we would get permits, we would be able to, we'd have the contractor in place and be able to start shortly thereafter. So that's the timing, and from the contractors, it should not be, more than, again, this is my opinion, it probably should not take more than 4 to 8 weeks to finish all the work, but we're gonna have to see what the contractors' proposals are willing to commit to.
So when you mentioned that step where we approve, are you talking like about the type of handrail, the surface of the walkway? Cause I know they're digging up that beautiful bluestone, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about, those specific things?
Yeah, I'm not sure I completely understood you're gonna approve the contractor.
Okay.
Right now, the approval that's in for, is that what you're asking, is about what
Well,
is?
you used the word that we would approve something, and I want
Yeah,
to know
you're
what
gonna
are we
approve
approving?
you would approve the contractor and their proposal. They're
Okay.
gonna submit their bids to redo the work that's there.
Okay, so I was just asking for clarification on what we were supposed to approve, so it was poorly worded the first time.
So, I apologize. So the, if anything out of the design looks like there's need for approval, I do understand, kind of what you see and what you feel, what you touch. You wanna make sure that nothing goes past you without having an opportunity.
Right,
And so in the next set of plans that I'll get a little bit more.
right, so you're thinking, the contractors could be selected maybe after April then, after the permits are?
No, I would like to get the contractor selected so that when the permits, so I'm thinking the contractors are gonna be selected sometime in March.
Okay, so they're running at the same,
They're running at the same time. I don't need every comment back from the permit plans in order to select a contractor.
okay. Anything else on that? And you have the demolition permit, and that's going to go forward?
Yes, so the pergola, we do have, the contract has been signed and sent back. We have the permit there's a number of steps that happen in the actual issuance of the, kind of final permit, but it's imminent, and it's probably, the total amount of work is probably not much more than a week. So, we're looking to, as soon as all those things fall into place, we can do that. And as soon as that happens, we will also then take the steps to cancel the building permit that was submitted for it. So,
Right. Yes, you
Into the
have to get rid of
category.
something you aren't permitted to have before you get rid of the thing that you no longer need, I guess. Is that about right?
I did say that out loud, yes, I did, that's correct.
Okay, Councilmember Schaefer, you had some questions?
Well, I was just, and maybe you covered this, and I missed it, how soon can we submit an RFP for the contract?
Use the microphone.
I'm sorry, I was asking about the earliest we could submit the RFP for this work.
I'm hoping that it's within the next 2 weeks, but I have to see the plans that I get from the engineer. Are they gonna be sufficient to be able to do that? So the intent is, in the next 2 weeks, we would have plans sufficiently developed that we could get a real quality proposals.
Okay, right, because I see in this process, we've got a lot of weak links, and any one of which can
Right.
hold up the process.
Yeah, I think we will be okay there. The civil engineer's been very responsive, and, he's, I think he'll give me what we need.
Thank you.
Other, Councilmember I'm sorry.
No,
Did
it's
you raise your
okay.
hand
No,
first?
no, I
I'm
don't
sorry.
think so. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm not sure, but wasn't there some discussion at the last meeting of notifying the buildings, especially the buildings right close to the pergola, so they don't think wrongly that someone's stealing the pergola or they haven't heard it's coming down?
I'm not sure how, kind of internally you want to handle that. We will let you know when it's coming down so that,
Yeah, my
you can
understanding is
communicate whatever you want to.
the village manager will take care of that, right?
Right,
Yeah.
as soon as we hear from Jim or the contractor directly, we'll alert the building managers and let them know that this is coming up, so it's not a surprise to folks when they see the work happening.
Councilmember Klein?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was my point too. How are we gonna make the public know? And I would put out something general in addition to the specific buildings that are across the street or on either side. Because it's the sort of thing that people might ask about and wanna know what's gonna happen and what the plan is for what will be there after the pergola comes down, so thanks.
We did, I'm not sure kind of exactly what the arena was. We are not going to, when we take the pergola away right now, we are not gonna fill it back up right now because when we do the work for the stormwater management, the bioretention facilities, there's gonna be excess dirt. And so we're gonna use that dirt to fill what is now the kind of the pergola. So we just didn't wanna pay to have somebody bring dirt in and then haul more dirt out than we had to. So that's currently the plan.
What will the gap be what will the gap be between the hole and the hole being filled?
Well, no soon, the hole is what it is right now, but it just has a pergola over top of it. So that's gonna stay, it's gonna look just like it does, but with no pergola. And that'll be there until the contractor would start sometime after April.
I think all of that should be in whatever the manager puts out, so people understand the pergola is going and this is the next step.
Okay.
We will get lots of calls. The village manager will get lots of calls.
Any other questions from council members? Julian, do you have anything to add or ask? Okay, thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you all.
That's been very helpful.
Collective happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. And chairman's comments. So I have a few thank yous. We had a party in December to thank all of our volunteers and committee members. And honestly, a party is not enough to show our gratitude, but thank you to all for your time and commitment to the community. Your efforts are really appreciated. Last month, as we heard here today, we had to make a very difficult decision about what to do about the improperly seated pergola in Page Park. Thank you to all the residents who gave their opinion on this. It really did make it easier for us to make a difficult decision. So I'd like to express my gratitude again to all those people who told us what they thought. Now, I believe public comments are next. Thank you. Mr. Crucetti? Do you have a comment that you'd like to share?
Roger Cochetti, 5500 Friendship Boulevard. Two quick comments that are procedural and two just developments that I wanted to take note of. On the procedural comments, these are really in the category of what I call good government. Two suggestions I wanted to offer. One is I've noticed the announcements that several of the council committees or advisory committees have started doing online only meetings. And I think this is a mistake. I think it should be, the minimum requirement should be hybrid meetings. And the reason is that there are many residents of Friendship Heights who don't have a computer, don't have high-speed internet, don't have Zoom software, or are not facile in putting that whole thing together to join a video conference, and they should have the ability to participate as well as those people who do. Hybrid meetings are the norm these days, as this meeting is, and I would suggest that that be a rule with few specific exceptions allowed. Secondly, there are disclosure requirements for council members when they run for council, but there are evidently no disclosure requirements for members of council committees or advisory committees. I think it's important that if someone participates in an advisory committee or a committee of the council, and they are receiving compensation from any other entity that has an interest in policy or development in Montgomery County or Friendship Heights, that they should fully disclose the fact that they are receiving compensation. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just a matter of full disclosure. And having served as a member of many federal and UN advisory committees while I was an employee of IBM and other companies, it's perfectly normal, but everybody should know that that person is receiving some compensation. Two significant developments that have occurred, I think, are worth noting. One is, for those who don't follow this, Saks Global, the parent company of Saks Fifth Avenue, which acquired Neiman Marcus last year, borrowed $3 billion to do so, missed its quarterly payment to the bond holders who lent them the money to do that. They are in a very stressed financial situation, cash flow. They've already begun selling properties. They sold the Saks property in Los Angeles, and it's quite possible that this property will be sold as well. Lastly, for those who don't know, the development that was scheduled to take place where Maggiano's is located now, the financing for that development has collapsed. This is, by my count, the fourth multi-use, multi-family development on Wisconsin Avenue where the financing is collapsed.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks.
No, I just like to say, right, I think there's a lot of fair points in there. If you can email me what the bullet points of what you said, we can follow up on some of those things. Thank you.
Bobby Pestro?
Good evening. I listened with interest to the council's discussion and action about the EV charging stations at January's meeting. Supporting information presented during the discussion appeared incomplete, if not in error. There seemed to be a conflict of interest by the maker of the motion, which included not charging any user, village resident or not, for plugging in. I filed a request for public records with the village manager. In response, I was informed at first that there were no records responsive to the questions. I explored the village website, and there was a public record available, and the village manager has confirmed this. The document identified the council member who made the motion adopted by council. The vote was 6 in favor, none opposed, and 1 abstention. The video of the December council meeting was also available. The video confirms that the originator of the motion owns an electric vehicle. That's a conflict of interest, the use of public funds for personal gain. I sent the same set of questions noted earlier to each village council member through their listed info mailbox. I confirmed that my questions were shared with them. None of the 6 council members voting to approve the motion responded to me. I couldn't learn whether any of the other 5 members of council who voted in support of the motion might also have a conflict. Non-response also seems inconsistent with the upper levels of the Dignity Index adopted by the council several months ago. I called the communities of Gaithersburg, Kensington, and Sumner Village, each referenced during the December meeting. All charged for the use of their stations installed. Some had stations installed by a third party so as not to incur the cost of the amenity themselves. Station users paid for their station and electricity through fees. This seems like a responsible business practice, but not one adopted by the village. Finally, residents listening to the meeting heard that presently no convenient charging stations are available to village residents. But the Whole Foods garage off Friendship Boulevard and the Amazon Fresh store have stations available, as do other public parking stations surrounding the village. One village condominium has installed chargers in its garage. Other residential buildings could do the same. Software to enable costs to be charged to users was readily available to the council and proposed by potential vendors responsive to the village's RFP. Likely, the village will not be considering installing a gas station on village property and giving away gas for free to those with hybrid vehicles, also an environmentally sensitive selection. I'm concerned about other conflicts of interest. I ask each council member who voted for the charging station now, do you own an electric vehicle which requires charging? And if so, why didn't you declare a conflict of interest and abstain from voting? Thank you.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I might not get to all of it, but first of all, regarding the document request, our policy, and it's a long-standing policy, has been that only I think your time is up, so I'm responding.
No, it's the only reason I can't stand here while you're going to respond.
Okay. So it's a long-standing policy. It's consistent with advice given to our attorney. To my knowledge, no council member during the last village council, including Mr. Robert Pestrunk, objected to that policy. So we continued to follow that policy. When Mr. Pestrunk forwarded his document request to the council members, we followed our policy and did not respond. And the other point, since I was sort of personally mentioned indirectly with all the other council members, I'd just like to point out that Mr. Robert Pestrunk's statements regarding the charging statement are very inconsistent with prior actions. When Mr. Pestrunk was a council member, he routinely voted in favor of village contracts, often for more money, without ever voicing these types of concerns. For example, Mr. Pestrunk voted to approve a multi-year, multi-million-dollar shuttle contract. Mr. Pestrunk never once suggested that council members disclose whether they rode the shuttle or if they might personally benefit financially from not having to pay for alternative transportation. Mr. Pestrunk was also silent about his own or his family's use of the shuttle. Mr. Pestrunk never questioned the practice of non-village residents receiving free shuttle rides or pushed for a discussion about whether shuttle users should be charged. And that's an example from one contract, and again, a much, much bigger contract going over 5 years. Now, after voting for a charging station and voting to fund the station twice, once at the finance committee level and again at the council level, Mr. Pestrunk is demanding answers about minor costs. Scrutiny he did not apply to other expenditures during his 2 years on the council, including our largest contract. And one more thing, I would also point out, at the discussion last month, because this is a new service, we did not rule out charging. We're going to see how it goes, and I think all of us are open, depending on how the station is used and what the realities of that are. We would be open to charging in the future.
This is the typical deflection that the mayor, as former treasurer, does in response.
I'm
and
sorry,
I
your
hear
3
again as
minutes are up. Thank you.
deflection. Thank you very much.
Councilmember.
Well, first of all, I wish we wouldn't start a new year with a back and forth. I really think it undermines our attempts to be collegial. I do agree with the mayor that our attorney has advised when people ask for documents that those requests go through the village manager. However, as I understood the email that all of us got, it was asking specific questions. It wasn't asking for documents. It was asking whether each one of us had an electric vehicle. And I don't personally see any problem with answering that question. If you don't want to answer it, you don't answer it. But I don't think that was a document request, and I hate to get into a back and forth over that. I abstained on that vote, as you remember, and the reason I abstained was because I have a concern, which I expressed in public, that this is something paid for with our resident and business tax dollars. And I would not want it to be used by anyone that was coming into the village unless we at least keep track of it. But I was told that we're not going to keep track of it, which raises another question of how we monitor the appropriate use of the station, since there's only going to be one, and if somebody within the village or outside the village leaves their car way longer than it takes to recharge it, that means no one else can be using it. So I think the management does, as the mayor suggested, need to be evaluated from time to time, but I think we need data. We need to know how many people are using it. Is this cost effective so that we should try to get back some costs? And are they the same people? I mean, if they're council members or not, if it's the same 35-year-old that lives in one of the buildings in or out of the village that is using it every week and no one else, and that's an extreme example, but I think we do need to monitor it, and I hope we will, that the manager will use his resources to somehow find out and report back to council. And again, I don't think, and I would like this not to be a cause of personal back and forth. Thank you.
My only comment is I don't think we care what the age of the person is who takes advantage of any of our services. So, village manager's report next.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick items. One is to follow up on the removal of the fountain bid issue from tonight's agenda. We did issue an RFP. We only received one proposal that was viable. So we're going to reissue the RFP, and we hope to come up with additional proposals to present to the council at next month's meeting. Also, we're preparing with the structural engineering firm for the project to replace the waterproofing membrane in the courtyard behind the village center. So we hope to have an update on that later this month and be able to give everybody an update on that project. It will involve replacing the waterproofing membrane that is causing a leak through the garage, and that will require an RFP with bids as well for future council meeting. Thank you.
Would you mind sharing what you know about the internet outage that is applying to this meeting right here?
Not a lot of details, but what we're told is it was apparently some type of accident with a truck that caused an outage to about 7,000 customers in the area. So beyond the village and sort of the larger Chevy Chase area, and it happened this afternoon. So we did not have internet as of about 1:30 or so this afternoon. Crews were dispatched and are working on it, but they did not give us an ETA for when it would be restored.
Will it become clear if it turns on during this meeting so Jason can stop recording, or will we be aware of that, or?
I'm not sure how we'd be aware of it inside this room, not
Okay.
necessarily. They won't notify us directly.
I figured that, yeah. Okay.
But it's a very widespread system outage, so it's being worked on. But
So
no, we're
we
not.
should assume
We should
just not
assume
gonna have service
we should
the
assume
entire-
we should assume we're out for the meeting. Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mayor's announcements next?
Well, I don't really have much, just Happy New Year to everybody. I did, if I could refer you to the Mayor's Corner in the Village newsletter, we have a lot of items we hope to tackle this year. It's a very ambitious list, so if anybody wants to take a look at that, either online or at the hard copy of the newsletter. Thank you.
Treasurer's report?
Thanks, Martha. For the first 6 months through December, things are looking pretty good. Revenues are down slightly compared to the same period last year, but adjusting for a one-time payment from Pepco in 2025, revenues are largely in line with where we were last year. Expenditures are up approximately 7% from the same period last year, largely reflecting increases in salaries and benefits and a raft of maintenance issues, many of them related to the Village Center in Humphrey Park. Going forward, it is planned to address most remaining Village Center and Humphrey Park issues primarily through next year's capital budget. The Village Center garage has column shoring and leakage issues, as we just talked about, as the village manager talked about. The fountain needs to be replaced, and fountain lighting and waterproofing membranes in the courtyard are due for replacement. Our reserve funds continue to be robust at $5.1 million, down from last month, but still up $367,000 year to date. We have a finance committee meeting scheduled for later this month on January 20th, in which we will be reviewing preliminary operating budget estimates for the remainder of the year and the next fiscal year starting in July. Those preliminary estimates suggest we are still in pretty good shape going into next year, although we expect to see a drop-off in income tax revenues next year due to federal layoffs and the government shutdown. So our operating budget is expected to tighten up going forward. At the Finance Committee meeting on the 20th of this month, we will be looking at the first draft of a capital budget for FY27, which includes a major new initiative to improve pedestrian safety throughout the village. We have a meeting on Wednesday to kick off the initial phase of the project, which includes a 4-month study of most intersections in and around the village, with recommendations on improvements and estimated costs to improve pedestrian safety. We will also be continuing discussion of options for improving our check signing and transaction review procedures, as well as next steps needed to fully implement village investment policy. So that's for discussion at the meeting on the 20th of this month. Thanks.
Treasurer Connell, I have a question, and I don't know if it's answerable. I know you mentioned income tax revenue is expected to tighten up. Is anyone estimating by how much? Or it's just so we know it's gonna happen and don't know yet?
No, that's a good question. I think the state actually provided an estimate for the current year and a preliminary estimate for next year. And my recollection of that is, and I went back and looked at it and I wasn't entirely clear, but our revenues are in good shape this year. In fact, we're doing better than we thought, but they're likely to tail off next year because of the impact of the layoffs and the shutdown. The good news is that so far at least, the economy in Montgomery County has shown to be pretty resilient. So we'll see how it goes, but things are likely to tighten up next year.
So, because you're talking about income tax revenue, are they saying tighten up on a calendar year basis, or is that adjusted for a fiscal year?
Adjusted for fiscal year.
Councilmember Miller?
Yeah, Mr. Treasurer. What was the report that Julian got from the state? Because that's the only information that we can rely on, and that usually is conservative.
Yeah, the estimate for the current fiscal year is that we're gonna have a surplus of several $100,000. But again, that's based on 2024 tax returns. So we will, because of some, unanticipated capital gains income, the current year FY26 fiscal year income tax will be higher than expected by the end of this fiscal year. The estimate for FY27 is just slightly higher than what our budgeted approved number is. So it will definitely tail off from this year's surplus amount, but it'll still be pretty close to the budget is what is expected for FY27, which is the 2025 tax year payments.
Julian, when will they give the improved, more accurate estimate to you
December.
of 2026?
Right.
Okay.
So we get an annual estimate in December, which is the estimate for the rest of the current fiscal year that we're in, plus an estimate for the next full fiscal year. We get those two numbers every December.
So until then, is it fair to say that we're not looking for a deficit based on our present budgeting?
Correct.
Committee reports are next on the agenda. Advisory Committee on Development, Council Member Klein, please.
We're continuing to meet, and we've decided that we will be inviting some of the, well, not all of the candidates who are running for delegate in District 1 to come to the advisory committee and talk to us over the next weeks and months. We'll see what their schedules are like. We talked a lot about bike lanes and the pros and cons of bike lanes. There's quite a bit of concern about Western Avenue, Wisconsin Avenue, and Willard Avenue, and people can have different views on this, but most of the members of the committee, I would say, supported the idea of not having bike lanes on Wisconsin Avenue and not having bike lanes on Western Avenue. So that's where we are currently. And on the 27th, we have a meeting. It's going to be a Zoom meeting with members of the planning staff to tell us what they are going to be recommending for Friendship Heights. So we're looking forward to that. That's my report.
That's a lot going on, I think. Vic, on the phone from Florida, the Policies and Procedures Committee updates, please.
Sure. The Policies and Procedures Committee met on December 16th and again on January 6th to consider several new policies. They include data security, ADA website compliance, social media, ethics, travel, parking, and village center space rental. Over the course of the two meetings, 4 of the policies were approved by the committee, along with a recommendation that they be adopted by the full council. They include the policies on ethics, travel, space rental, and social media. All 4 of these policies are in your briefing book. A more in-depth discussion will happen when we get to new business.
Thank
That's
you.
my report.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. Any questions for the chairman of the Policies and Procedures Committee? Okay, the next committee report is Parks and Grounds. We met on January 6th. I feel like I'm repeating myself over and over, but Page Park is our top priority. So we spend a lot of time getting an update on Page Park and the Red House. And separately, the village manager agreed to develop an inspection and maintenance plan for the village's properties and grounds. So that concludes my report on Parks and Grounds. Any questions on that? Okay. Now we go to new business, and we have a discussion vote on the following policies. Vic, did I understand you correctly that you wanted to just jump into them, or do you want to do an introduction?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Could you
Yes,
repeat it?
did you want to provide any introductory comments before we introduce the individual policies, or should we just proceed?
I think you should just proceed.
Okay. I'm suggesting to do these a little bit out of order. with the shorter ones first. The travel policy, I'll basically, I move to adopt the travel policy. Before I give comments, I think I need a second.
Yeah.
Vic, so I move to adopt the travel policy, and Francine seconded the motion, just so you have that. And now we have discussion. I'll explain it a bit. Right now, we don't, most municipalities do, and we don't have any policy establishing either procedures or compensation amounts or requirements around business-related travel. So the purpose of this travel policy is to establish procedures for approving the amount and location of overnight business-related travel. And this policy does comply with the Montgomery County freeze unofficial county travel to certain states that restrict reproductive rights, and we have included a waiver and an exception. The policy also limits the amount the village will expend for travel, and basically we are using the IRS mileage reimbursement rate and the General Services Administration rates for hotel, meals, incidental expenses. But most, to my knowledge, of the travel in the village is to conferences, and there's a provision that the conference hotel, which is normally above GSA, is a permissible rate. There is a provision that there be a goal to fairly allocate the travel and training budget among professional staff. And this policy is also applicable to employees and to council members if and when we travel or go to the MML. So, sure, so we have a proposal for an amendment to the policy or to the motion?
To the policy.
If you wait till I find it, okay. Okay.
So I do support this policy. I have one minor change since we've talked about we want the reimbursement rates to comply with the GSA policy. In paragraph 2, there's a line that reads, in the event that the village traveler chooses to accept a hotel or event provided meal. Well, under the GSA rules, a hotel provided meal, which is generally considered breakfast, does not affect the per diem. So I would make a motion to amend the policy to strike out or hotel. Hotel or in.
So it should read to accept.
Chooses to accept.
An event provided?
Yeah, an event provided meal. And again, that will have our policy comply with the GSA.
Okay, so I accept that amendment. My
Yes,
my seconder accepts it. Any discussion?
No, I'm confused. I went to the committee hearing, and I know the committee members, including the chair, spent a lot of time on this, and I thought they worked it out, and I'm not sure what this change will do, perhaps.
Yeah, well, it turns out that there's one little wrinkle in the GSA rules that I personally was not aware of, which is that they have made an exception for like the hotel breakfast that you get in the morning. They say that's not something that is considered anything that should affect the per diem. So that's the GSA rule, which Roy was able to point that out to me, and that's true. That if you get one, like a free breakfast of Cheerios or whatever, hard-boiled egg at the hotel, that GSA won't say that that's the equivalent of a breakfast per diem. Because when you get the per diem from GSA, most people don't know this, but there's a specific amount for every city that you travel to, that you get for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the overarching rule is that if you go to a conference that the government pays for, and you know, you get a lunch or a dinner, at that conference, you're not supposed to get paid the per diem for lunch or dinner. But GSA has made an exception to what we get at many hotels these days, which is coffee and as I said, a hard-boiled egg and some cereal and milk or juice. And so that now has to be taken out, a slight modification to what was written.
How do you respond, because this came up at the meeting which I listened to, how do you respond to the fact that the people that are relying on GSA many times simply don't use that privilege to have breakfast or lunch, and they end up essentially with a profit? I mean, I was never, like many of you, a government employee, except when I was in the Army for 2 years, and then we had something called TDY, and I know exactly how it was used or misused. People would essentially get the cheapest thing everywhere, and they would get reimbursed. It was a nice little bonus.
You know, it's, Al, I understand what you're talking about, and I can say that when I first started my career in federal service, which lasted 45 years, you needed to bring receipts for everything that you ate, and you would only get reimbursed for what you actually had spent. And then at some point, the auditors and the IGs and the GSA leadership decided that the amount of expense that was being rung up to keep track of everyone to the penny was not worth it. And so they said, you get your per diem unless, and this is a perfect example, you're eating dinner at you know, a conference that you've registered for, and the registration fee includes dinner. So, you know, we have so few people who travel, and the amount of money is so small. You know, you could argue it either way, but I'm comfortable personally with saying GSA decided to just do it in a flat way with these sorts of exceptions, and that's good enough for me. From having no rules whatsoever to having standard rules, I think is helpful.
I understand, and I seem to recall that the staff here, this really applies only to 2 staff members who go on meetings that I know of, and they go to very few, like 2 or 3. They in the past have been reimbursed, not for the hotel, that would continue. The village pays for the hotel, the village pays for the registration. We're talking about essentially dinner, and I don't know that has ever been a problem.
I don't know what you mean by a problem.
Well, the problem
Well, first of all, it's not just the staff, actually. It is, it's also the council members who go to at least one event, traditionally the Metropolitan Municipal League. There really hasn't been a rule as to what can be spent for dinner. And what my experience was that I think we wound up having one dinner that we had, or maybe 2 that we had to pay for ourselves, and there was a dinner that was a sponsored dinner. But you're better off, I think, having rules like this. I don't know how else you can set it up other than to have no rules at all.
Well, what I'm trying to fathom is not having any rules seem to have not had any problems. Is this a solution for a non-problem? And what you just said raises another question. The council members are going to get the equivalent of a TDY?
Of course. We're going out on official business.
Well,
and I think, I don't think, Al, you were not there, so you didn't really see how it worked. But there's a good reason now for putting a limit on what is spent. And I don't see this as increasing the amount of money that is spent. I see this, and that's where we differ in view, I see it as decreasing the amount of money that's spent.
Well, I will tell you, since I've been on the council a long time, I went to a number of those meetings, and the tradition, not a rule, because it was flexible, it was a guideline, that one council member would go and would report back. I personally, with all due respect to my colleagues, each of whom I respect, I don't see any reason for 7 or 6 or however many council members need to go to a meeting. The manager is required to give some sort of report. I haven't heard any report from each council member on what they took back from the meetings, and now you're telling me that essentially the council members who vote for this will be potentially getting the payback, which I didn't realize there was any payback. I thought the council members and the staff had their rooms and their registration paid for. Completely support that, but I didn't think we were paying for council member dinners. I thought that was on their own. This is not a requirement under the other, unlike TDY, this is not the government requiring council members to go there, or even requiring staff to go there. It's a staff professional thing.
Okay.
But so I respectfully disagree, and I thought you were.
I thought the conference was extremely important to me, especially as a new member of the council, and being new to local government. The training that you spent many hours at during the day, because this is not a boondoggle, was designed for you to meet other people who were experts in the area, to sit in a room with them and listen to experts presenting PowerPoint, having an opportunity to bring up questions, meeting individuals who you then could contact after the conference to follow up on issues that we have. In fact, this whole last year for me has been one, it's not quite a year yet, but it's been one in which the opportunities to meet people who are engaged in the same sort of work is becoming, I see, more and more important. And I think it's a mistake to look at this as anything other than what it is, which is to put regularity for members of the council and also the staff with respect to travel. So I've said my piece, and
Okay, does anyone else have a comment or question? I think we're ready to vote. Your ears are up, Vic, right? Is he online?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking, and we will repeat what you can't see, Vic. All in favor of adopting the travel policy as amended, right? As amended, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
It's 1, 2,
Aye.
3, 4, 6 ayes,
Nay.
1 nay, and 0 abstentions. Do you have that, Vic?
There was one negative vote?
Yes,
You said?
yes.
Yes.
That was, Council Member Muller.
6 to 1.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll move to the next, what I call sort of a short, policy. Just give me a second to find my notes. Can't seem to find my notes, but the policy on village center rental. Currently, we do not have a policy. I've heard that there are nonprofits that would like to use the space and feel that they're unable to do so for cost reasons. So this policy does reduce rates, and there's an available discount for 501c3 organizations that are in the village or serve village residents. So the policy basically specifies who has priority to use the space, and big surprise priority is the village council, and village committee meetings and so forth. And the policy includes rates for different times for the auditorium here, half auditorium, and the classrooms. And that, Vic, do you have anything else to add on that?
No, I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Okay. Are there, oh, and we have agreed to review in 6 months to see how, and make any adjustments. Right now, really, there is very, very little rental use. Julian, or do you have an estimate of what it is, or John? It's very low.
It's
I think.
3,600.
Like
36 months.
3,600 for 6 months. The rental revenue we have received for 6 months is low.
So this will make it lower.
Well, I think more people will rent it if they can afford it. Yeah. And I realize I made an error. I didn't make a motion to adopt this policy before I described it, so I think I need a second on the motion to, that's Francine, the motion to adopt the policy on the village center rental. Open for discussion. Councilmember Muller.
So,
I'm sorry, Vic was saying something.
Who seconded the motion?
Francine, I'm sorry, Councilmember.
Councilmember Klein.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. I was unable to attend the meeting because of a conflict with another committee meeting, which we will discuss briefly at the end for another item. But as I understand what was decided by the committee, essentially the previous rule, which was a change from the original rule, was that the use of rental would be restricted to residents, that there would no longer be a higher rate for non-residents, meaning people in Somerset House or Chevy Chase Village or wherever. And I support that. The unexpected change was, I support this also, that the rates for residents have been halved. Instead of $1,000 for 8 hours, it's reduced to $500. For the auditorium, instead of $500, reduced to $250. And I support that. The organizations, the nonprofit organizations are now, though, entitled to a discount of 50%. That's new. And if they're a nonprofit which is located in the village, which so far have essentially been two organizations, FHNN and the condominium board. I don't know that they're a nonprofit. The condominium board.
They are. Oh, but they're not 501c3, but they're nonprofit, right?
Well, the way this discount is noted in the policy is nonprofit 501c3. So is any nonprofit, if it's, I don't know enough about these organizations, is any nonprofit that's not a 501c3 also entitled to a discount of 50%? That's a question, I don't know.
It was not I'm sorry, is that a question I can answer now, or do you want to continue?
No, that's a question
Okay.
answered now.
It was not intended to cover a nonprofit like, what's it called? Friendship Heights Alliance, which is a business nonprofit. That is not eligible for the discount. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just don't know what, well, I don't know what organizations would come under this, and is this indeed what the committee wants? That
Right.
only 501c3 organizations, and I don't know what the definition or what is included, which organizations are included in that specific.
Okay. Could I also note that a little further down, there are organizations in our community like handheld boards that get one free meeting a year.
Where,
Um,
this is just a one page, maybe I took out the wrong page. It's just the one page I'm looking at, I don't see.
Can I ask a question? What is your concern? Are you concerned that there will be a nonprofit that's being left out? Or that too many nonprofits,
The latter.
well, you have to be a nonprofit that's serving us or is located here.
No, that's the second phrase. That's the,
I thought that when we talked about it, that it is, because that was specifically discussed, and it is supposed to be a nonprofit that is serving people in the Friendship Heights area, or is residents in the Friendship Heights area.
well, that's in addition, they would be getting, they're the ones that qualify for once a year, a free charge. That's the second, that's.
Did
the
you have a clarification, Julian?
Yeah, just on Councilmember Klein's point, the language states the 501c nonprofit groups have to be located in and serving the residents of the village,
Yeah.
not or. So it's not, if it's a nonprofit that's outside of the village serving the village residents, that doesn't work.
Thank you for that clarification.
Where does that say that? In the policy?
Under 4.0, 4.0 eligible users, the second bullet.
In addition. I'm sorry.
Space
These are
once
ju-
per
this is-
year.
This is one thing and this is the
That's
second
right,
thing.
and I'm pointing out, there's a one free use policy. At one time per year, free use policy.
Right, there's two different things we're talking about. The nonprofit, which I'm still not certain how this 501c3 is defined, what organizations.
So would you like condo boards specifically included here?
Well, I have to think about that. I don't know why they would wanna meet here rather than in their own building. I think it's far better for condo boards to meet in their own building so that more people are likely to come rather than come here. So if I was on a condo board, the reason the Willoughby uses that is because they are so big. Originally, they wanted to meet here. It's actually no longer necessary for that. So I don't think it's necessary for the condo boards to be given an exception. What about the tenant organization in the Willard Towers? I think the condo boards have, well, I mean, we have a condo board president here. I mean, her opinion is
Yeah.
more important than mine.
Can I ask Julian, what has been the usage by nonprofits? Because I was under the impression when we discussed this, that, there's some flexibility and space within the system to accommodate more people rather than fewer.
Right, but the usage has been restricted to essentially the Neighbors Network, FHNN, as the only nonprofit that we typically hear from, and they regularly do an annual event here, which is their once a year free use. The Willoughby Condominium Board has done their annual meeting and election here, not every year, but numerous years. I don't believe we've had another condominium board take advantage of that, but the Willoughby has done it multiple times, yeah.
So this again is putting structure behind something that's been a pattern of practice. And, we can always change it if it turns out that the wear and tear or the burden on the system is too great.
Well, I think it was a mistake in the first place to allow essentially one condominium board to meet here.
But that was the one that wanted to. I mean, we've never asked at the Elizabeth because we've always had sufficient space, for whatever reason, we're different sizes, to have a meeting. It doesn't, I don't see where this is going to pose a problem. And if it does pose a problem, then we'll back off and reorder the rule.
Can I back up a second and offer an amendment to what was originally submitted, which is basically what you said, it's the organizations located in the village and serving village residents instead of or. Will you second that
Yes.
amendment? So that's what we're talking about going forward. Okay. Any other comments?
Under eligibility, I don't know how many of my colleagues have ever used the center and rented it. I have. Usually it's for a birthday celebration, and I presume if I survive that long, I will possibly do that again. I don't feel comfortable, therefore, voting for a policy that I'm gonna benefit from, so I would abstain, because if you were raising the rate or keeping it the same, I could support it. But I think it's a clear conflict of interest if any of us are planning to use the center to then vote on lowering rates. Not even Congress does that.
Well, I mean, it applies to everyone the same way. It applies to everyone who's sitting here, and they get the benefit of a lower rate. And the idea that we're lowering the rate to benefit ourselves goes back to the statement that Roy made earlier, which is that we vote on a lot of things that may incidentally benefit us. That's just the nature of our being here and serving the population and giving amenities. You know, when I come up here and I sit in the library, I may vote for more library books. It doesn't mean that I have a conflict of interest in doing that.
Well, with all due respect, this is sort of blatant. I'm not suggesting that anyone would vote for that, but it just doesn't look right, just as if you accepted a gift of $50.
Well, we have to
instead
pay
of
the
20%.
same amount. We're not paying any less than anyone else.
You could vote for it
But
and pay the
we're-
higher
we're-
rate.
You can choose to pay more if you wish, you know.
No, the point is that other people don't have a chance to vote on the rate, so they may be
But
benefited.
what
yes.
we've decided to do is lower the rate because we wanna make back our expenses, but we don't wanna make any profit. And so we
I
have looked
support
at
that.
what the maintenance is, and we've looked at what our expenses are to rent it out. And because it is an underutilized resource, we're at a time when other things are going up, we're trying to bring something down.
I support that, I just
Okay, and
telling you how I feel, that I
Oh,
don't think,
okay.
I don't think and you can follow my lead or not, I don't think council members that are voting to reduce the fee, if we as council members use it, should vote, you should abstain, I should abstain, I can only speak for myself.
Okay, another reason for this, if I might add, is this is a taxpayer-funded facility, and our goal is to have taxpayers in the village be able to use it. Are there any other comments before, Rick, do you have any comments? Before we call for the vote?
Yeah, but any comments before the vote?
Okay, all in favor of adopting the Friendship Heights Village Center rental program as amended, please raise your hand and say aye. That is, 6 aye, Al abstaining.
6 to 1, 6 to 0 to 1, Al abstaining.
No,
extension, go ahead, Doctor.
We can either do ethics or social media policy. What do you want to do? Next.
Social media.
Okay, let's do social media policy. Now, I hope, Julian or Jason, you may need to correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe this is a mandated policy, right? We must have one?
No, it's
No.
not, it's not mandated by law. It is highly recommended as a best practice for local governments that engage in social media administration.
So if I could summarize what this is, and Jason was kind enough to draft it. This policy says what a staff member can communicate on our social media platforms. And that is factual information about the business of the Village of Friendship Heights. It is not about opinion, it is not endorsing products, it's not endorsing services, it's just sharing very concrete and specific information. And it's a very long policy that basically communicates a tight restriction on permissibility. Would you say that's a fair description? What does that mean? So do you wanna?
I'm just not trying not to talk into
Okay,
it.
do you wanna
Yes,
share more?
the other quick point is, that the posts on social media are public and open
Mhm.
and are to be kept that way. So
Mhm,
that's very specifically stated here.
And once again, I failed to make the motion to adopt the social media policy before entering discussion. Could
Second.
Councilmember Klein seconded. I apologize about that mess up in order. So is there discussion on this proposed social media policy? Vic, do you have any comment on it?
Rick, do you have any comment on the policy?
I do not.
Okay, I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor of adopting the social media policy, raise their hand and say aye. That is 6 here and
Julian.
Voted.
aye. Okay, so that's unanimous.
Julian, your mic's not on. Your
I'm
microphone's
sorry, did I
on.
miss something?
You know, a question though, do I remember correctly, was someone gonna actually, compose whatever the form is that we have to fill out by May?
Yes, yes.
Are you talking about ethics?
It'll
or
come back to
social media?
me, it'll come back to, it's about the ethics.
Microphones,
We have to
please.
sign something by May, that we're in agreement with the
But we
policy as council.
I haven't got the ethics on.
Microphones, please.
I haven't introduced the topic on ethics yet. We were doing social media.
I'm sorry, they were out of order on my.
I understand, I did, yeah. So, I'll entertain a motion to adopt this.
Yes, I move that we adopt the, Village of Friendship Heights Public Ethics Policy.
And I'll, okay. So, Vic, did you get that? Councilmember, Klein moved and Councilmember Muller seconded the motion to adopt the public ethics policy.
You got that, Vic?
I did get it.
Okay, discussion?
Second? I moved it, right. Okay, now we're ready for-
And Al seconded it.
That's right, so now
Okay, so
we're
we're
ready
open for discussion.
Yes. Well, I have to say that as someone who was in
Excuse
charge
me.
of ethics programs.
Francine, just have the microphone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have to say that as someone who is in charge of ethics programs at a variety of federal agencies, it came as a very big surprise to me when I learned that as a taxing district, we weren't specifically required by state law to have an ethics policy that prohibited conflicts of interest and actually governed gifts, had an anti-retaliation policy, insisted on a full day's work for a full day's pay, or any of the other prohibitions and requirements that a good ethics policy has in place. And I was asked to come up with one, so I did contact the state ethics group that, an attorney who works on ethics issues for all of the municipalities. She confirmed that as a taxing district, we hadn't been specifically listed in the requirement to have an ethics policy, and that we were able to do what we wanted. I asked her what her suggestions were, and she then shared with me something that they call a model ethics program. It was quite detailed, and what I've done is, and what the committee has accepted, is come up with, and reviewed, come up with a version of that that's, you know, a shorter, more succinct version than what a big municipality like Baltimore or Rockville would be required to have in place. But all of the basic requirements, that you can't have a financial interest in the matters before you, and that you can't accept gifts from folks who are doing business with the with the taxing district, are all in this. And then what the requirement that Al was talking about is, we will, and this includes the members of the council, so this is an ethics policy for us, not just senior members of the staff. We will need to certify that we are in compliance with this, or explain why we're not, every year. And I will bring back to the council for a vote what the certification form will look like.
Thank you, and I've got to offer my thanks to Council Member Klein. I have thought this is long overdue, and I am much more comfortable being involved in a government entity that does have an ethics policy. So I greatly appreciate it, and I fully support it. Any more comments or questions? I see none. I will call for the vote to adopt the it's called Village of Friendship Heights Ethics Policy. All in favor, raise their hand and say aye.
Aye.
6
Aye.
here, and so it's 7 ayes,
7-0,
unanimous.
yes.
Thank you very much. You will see on the agenda that we've removed the discussion vote on the fountain, which leads us to an introduction of proposed amendment to village bylaws. And I would like to just give a little background that this is different than a regular motion at a regular meeting. Our current bylaws, Article 9, says these bylaws can be amended at any regular meeting of the council by the vote of at least 5 members, that's a supermajority, provided that the amendment has been submitted in writing at the previous regular meeting. And this meeting and this documentation meets the requirements of the submitted in writing at the previous meeting. So the normal procedure is the presenter explains, and at the next meeting, we have a discussion and vote. So, Councilmember Muller, I think you have the floor on this.
Thank you. Well, this really is an attempt to add the committee meetings to Article 4 of our bylaws, which describe in detail regular meetings, special meetings, work sessions, public hearings, but does not indicate anything more specific for the citizen meetings. We've had 2 committees, and now we have more, and the committees are meeting on a regular basis. The previous advisory groups were the Community Advisory Group and the essentially the Program Advisory Group. The special meetings and the work sessions and the regular meetings include in their description in the bylaws when a public announcement has to be made, because all of these committees are open to the public. For instance, the regular meeting, this meeting tonight, there must be at least 2 days advancement before the meeting, and it has to be put in all the usual places, especially the website, no longer the Humphrey Park bulletin board, but up on the front of the center. The work sessions at least 2 days in advance, and so this is simply an attempt to make the process more equivalent. Well, when we get to the next item that was added, the council will be voting on a new committee member, and I will have a suggestion there that we perhaps, when we include in the bylaw change for announcing when the committee is meeting, that we might also consider that, whether we want to do it at the same time or whether we want to have yet another separate vote. That'll be up to the council. But right now, I'm just giving you an overview of what will be discussed actually and voted on hopefully next council meeting.
Thank you. I think we're ready for our final item, which is the nomination of John Heisel to the Climate Change and Environment Committee, and I believe that's the mayor's job. And I just handed out sort of a description of Mr. Heisel's background and experience in environmental area.
Okay, so I nominate John Heisel to join as a member of the Friendship Heights Climate Committee.
Thank you. We can call for the vote on that. And Vic, you can hear me, I hope.
I can.
All in favor of supporting the mayor's appointment of Mr. John Heisel to the Climate Change and Environment Committee, please say aye or raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is 7 unanimously for appointing, I'm sorry, does Mr. Oh, you're saying yes, okay.
Yes, but I had a follow-up comment on that.
Okay, so that vote has been recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, yes, sir?
Number one, I fully support the credentials that were presented to us. And that reminds me that we have not been doing this consistently. So I think this opens another question of specifically how members of advisory groups are nominated. I think it was done perfectly. In this case, the mayor nominated, the council got a description, a curriculum vitae. That has previously been done, but it's gotten sadly sketchy. I can, without going into specific people, can tell you we have not gotten resumes for most of the new advisory groups at all. And I think that's not necessary because they're all qualified. I support everybody that's serving on the community advisory group, on the climate change advisory group, on the development committee, but we haven't gotten any resumes for them at all. And I think we should formalize it, as the chair has been trying to do with a lot of other things. This was the smoothest it's been in a long time, and I appreciate that.
So to clarify, you're suggesting that any person who seeks to be appointed to a committee provides at least a statement of interest or background or something like that
Absolutely,
in writing?
Chair, absolutely,
Okay.
so the whole council can look at it.
Okay, I understand. Any other comments on the process? I think we'd entertain a motion to adjourn. All of us moved to adjourn and all of us seconded, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you.